up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 14, part 1 of the reunion. And let me just say this, girl, when I tell you I was so irritated. I was irritated with everybody and disappointed. I was so annoyed by the end of this episode. But let's get into this review. Sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I just have a few things I want to talk to y'all about. So first up, let's talk about Garcelle. So it looks like Garcelle is confirming that she feels she made the right choice by leaving the show. And honestly, after this part 1, I don't blame her, okay? So she posted 2 pictures in her Insta story. It looks like her and her family were down at their beach house, something that Erica doesn't have, that she can't do, but okay. And she had her kids, and one of her kids was in the photo, and then his friends. Then the next picture, she wrote peace in the sand, and I was like, okay. Even though I wasn't the biggest Garcelle fan, I was kind of sad to see her go, but I do appreciate housewives in general being able to walk away from this. Like Candace walking away from Potomac, I didn't want her to, but she chose her peace and having a healthy pregnancy. Dr. Nicole not coming to the show. I'm not the biggest fan of Dr. Nicole on Real Housewives of Miami, but I enjoy her to a certain extent. But her choosing her family and her mental health because she was dealing with postpartum anxiety, I have no problems with that, girl. Do what you got to do for yourself. Keep your mental okay. And Garcelle choosing to walk away, I don't see nothing wrong with it. She said she had peace. She had peace. Don't the Bible say peace is everlasting? Do what you got to do, because money comes and goes. But we also know Garcelle is booked and busy. So she don't really need this show, you know? So, a former producer is speaking out on the behalf of Garcelle. This was posted by Bravo Snarkside, but the guy made I think it's like a 10-minute TikTok. But it says this: a former Bravo producer speaks out on Garcelle Bouvier's leaving RHOBH, says not all of the women are a joy to work with like Garcelle. So let me play the clip for you guys.
On for days about what a pleasure Garcelle was to work with. But if you really want to measure the character of a real housewife, ask the crew members who they like to shoot with the most. You can learn a lot about a person by the way they treat the people that they think can do nothing for them. Any morning when the crew found out that we were spending the day with Garcelle, they were ecstatic. And they most definitely do not feel that way about all of the ladies on the show. And I'm so proud of Garcelle for prioritizing her life over a television show. You know, I found many parallels between producing reality TV and producing adult content. They both offer a voyeuristic view into some of the most vulnerable.
So like I said, the video is like 10 minutes long. So definitely go check it out if you want to hear more of what he had to say, because he wasn't just talking about Garcelle. He also talked about how he felt working at Bravo. It wasn't some nice things to say, you know? So I wonder if that will pick up any traction. He talks about having to film OF content because Bravo wasn't paying them the big bucks. But I will say what he said about Garcelle, I think is true. You can normally gauge whether or not somebody is a good person based off of how they treat people that they can't get anything from, or people that don't hold specific titles. So I think that's wonderful that he came out to say, no, she's the real deal. She's a very kind person. And majority, if not all, the workers loved her. So she's leaving off on a good note. You know, but definitely check out his page if you want to hear what he had to say as it pertains to Bravo and the work environment. So then next, let's talk about Bose. So Bose posted this on Monday where she's walking in her carnival outfit. And when I tell you the body is tea, the body is tea. Like, girl, at 48, you looking like that? Girl, and you wasted it on Keely? We'll talk about that more in the review. But her body is beautiful. Okay, and it's all natural. The Lord sprinkled an extra dash of sexy body on her. But she posted the video with this caption, and it says, "This may be my first season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I promise I'm no rookie. Tune into our reunion episodes, which will be airing on at Bravo TV tomorrow night. Oh, and my body yaddy yaddy, I'm not holding back any secrets. At Jerry_Housey and I have a plan to share with you so we all can be snatched watch this space. So then she put hashtag RHOBH, hashtag the reunion, hashtag watch me work, hashtag workout plan, hashtag fit over 40. She looked good. But the only reason why I'm bringing this to you guys is the first statement where she says, this may be my first season on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I promise I'm no rookie. After Bose admits this episode that she did watch the show, it starts to make me feel like, girl, you did come in here with an agenda and a strategy. Like, but I don't know if the strategy is going to work for her, because I want to truly understand, where did you align yourself with Dorit because you liked her, or did you align yourself with Dorit because you felt like Dorit would keep you on this show longer? Because to say I'm no rookie and then to let us know you watched this show, it's given that you came in here with a plan and a strategy, but I don't know if that plan or strategy gonna work out for you, because right now, girl, it's a couple of people praying on your downfall. I'm not one of them. I'm not. I told y'all I stopped taking these shows that seriously. Like, I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to enjoy it for what it is, but I'm going to call things out as I see them. I give myself 48 hours to be upset about a show, and then I move on with my life. Okay? So, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work for you, Miss Bose. I don't know. And then the next thing, let's talk about Sutton and Garcelle. So the streets is saying that they have not spoken since after the reunion. And after the reunion, I understand if Garcelle is still pissed at her. Like, I don't know if their friendship is completely over, but it's definitely shifted. And Sutton is probably going to have to do something in order to gain back Garcelle's, like, loyalty and her trust in her. But Sutton did it to herself. Okay, she did it to herself. So let's move on, you guys. Let's get into this review. Y'all, in the intro, I was irritated. And the way that I know that I was irritated is I normally try to watch each episode before I review it twice. I'll casually watch it, be on Twitter, sharing my thoughts like everybody else, laughing and kikiing with the people. And then the second time I watch it, that's when I get my screenshots and I take my notes. And normally by the time I watch it a second time, I'm not as annoyed or as irritated or like shocked by something. But watching it the second time just made me more annoyed and made me more irritated and disappointed, where I was just like, yeah. And I knew I was irritated and disappointed when I was just like, get rid of everybody. Get rid of everybody and bring me a completely new cast. And I just started giggling because I was like, ooh, girl, you are really irritated, Leah. And I said, yes, Leah, I am. So I was just like, yeah, I can't. So let's get into it. So first thing, they get to the set and it's like 6 something in the morning. Mind you, I was like, where are they? Because I was like, are they dressing up in a motel? I said, girl, because this is a little rundown, a little sketchy, make sure you lock your doors type energy. Like, I was like, are they walking across the street from a parking lot? Like, to get to the studio? And then I realized, oh no, there must be on like a studio lot. But I said, y'all couldn't come better than this. So what's happening? What's transpiring over there? Is the budget not budgeting? Then when the women get on stage, you got Andy being like, oh, this stage is inspired by St. Lucia. I said, this cheap crap is not giving St. Lucia. It's giving Erica's house. Okay, it's giving Erica's bungalow. I said, what are you talking about? The fact that Erica has the same table that's on stage, and this is the same table that they used last season's reunion. I said, girl, did she take the first table and y'all just decided like she gonna rent it and y'all gonna bring it back because she renting the house? I'm confused. Okay? I said, how does Married to Medicine have a better set than y'all? Y'all are supposed to be Beverly Hills. Y'all are supposed to give us the opulence, the grandeur, the money, the luxury, the aesthetic. I said, Married to Medicine's reunion stage is gorgeous to me compared to this. At least they had real water. They had a real lily pond, a real water feature. Y'all had fake water behind you to mimic a pool. I said, the embarrassment. The embarrassment, bro. So pretty much, it starts off with them getting on set. It's like 6 something in the morning. You got Garcelle and Sutton talking. Sutton ends up bringing Garcelle a vibrator. They laugh about it. The next scene we have is of Dorit and Bose. Dorit goes to Bose's dressing room. They chopping it up. You can tell that Bose is nervous, but Dorit is trying to like calm her anxiety. We then see Andy go to what's her name? Kyle's room. Kyle's upset with Garcelle and Sutton because she doesn't like the fact that they've been saying like, hey, we need you to share more. We want you to share more. She's like, I've shared so much. Like, what has Garcelle really done this season? What has Sutton done this season other than give us a line about sustainability? I said, are you serious, Kyle? All we got from you this season is you crying about being lonely and crying on the chest of a man that does not want you anymore. That clearly is happy that y'all are separated and he could go out there and now cheat on you without feeling any type of way. What are we talking about, Kyle? That's all you did. You didn't give us no new hobbies that you're into. You didn't give us no new business ventures. You claim to be this actress, but we didn't see you go on any auditions. We rarely saw you with Kathy, except one time when y'all went to go get mammograms. All you gave us was tears and loneliness. Are you serious? Garcelle may not have had a lot this season, but she gave more than you. She gave us more context to her son's drug addiction. She showed us another son breaking into the modeling industry, and we got to see the complete, like the finished product of her beach house. Something that we saw her start like several seasons ago. Doing more than you. And even with Sutton and Dorit, this was a Sutton and Dorit season. Dorit carried the first half of the season. Sutton carried the second half of the season. Sutton took you down to Augusta to meet her mean, surly, sometimes funny mama, Miss Reba. And then she also took you to the house where her daddy took his own life. Again, she also gave us a sustainability line. Threw a party for us. What did you give us this season other than tears and loneliness? Okay. And then she said she got her crystals so they can keep her charged and clear. I said, keep you lying and clear. So next thing you know, we see Andy go talk to Dorit. Dorit basically says she wants to leave nothing unsaid and she wants to leave everything on the stage. We also see Sutton and Garcelle have a conversation where Garcelle basically said, girl, I caught up with TMZ and they telling me that supposedly Kyle says we're good. And Sutton was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, are we good? Because, girl, you was calling me an a-hole on the after show and you ain't really tried to talk to me this whole entire time. So she was like, I don't know what's up with her. New shirt. So let's talk about it. The women are getting on stage. We have this interaction with Erica where Andy ends up asking her, so who made your dress because you look beautiful in it? She says, I don't know, some random designer that I had make it. That pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. I was like, there was definitely a better way that you could say that. Like, you could have just been like, oh, off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, but he did a wonderful job on this outfit. To call him some random designer like he isn't worth anything, it just sounds very callous and very flippant. And I really feel like no designer in LA, New York, or who of that matter should ever design anything for Erica because she is not to be trusted. She's not to be trusted when it comes to designers. I went back and read up on that Marco case. I hope both Marco and Christopher get everything and then some from Erica. Marco is the one that's suing her in Florida for $300,000 and he's currently potentially getting a default judgment. And then you have Christopher who's suing her for $900,000 in California. And they're both suing her for defamation of character because what she did ruined their lives. Okay, Christopher is the one that a lot of people bring up that was in jail, and while he was in jail, his brother died. His partner and him lost their adoption because they were in the process of adopting. And when he got out of jail, after his family had to like do a lot of work to get money to bail him out, his dad died from cancer. So I hope he get everything and then some, just as Marco. Christopher is also suing, Secret Service and American Express because Erica basically said that they were extorting her to some extent. And she called Secret Service on them. And American Express got involved. So when I tell you, I hope they get everything from her, everything. So because Erica called that man a random designer, I decided to go back to the Bravo Insider article and look up his name. I never do that because normally I don't care. But something about the way she said it just rubbed me. I was just like, ugh. And so I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I think you say it. It's Valendiran Shahadi. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, probably did, so sorry again. I Googled his name, and this man is not some random designer. He's been designing since 2003. I love on his Instagram, he has crafting elegance since 2003. He has over 2 million followers. That's not just some random designer. On top of that, the 3 pinned videos on his Instagram is of Jennifer Lopez in a dress that he made for her at the Sundance Festival. Beyonce, one of the outfits he made for her for the Renaissance tour, Renaissance, and then Nicki Minaj, a dress that he created for her to wear for her Pink Friday tour. three A-list celebrities, but he's some random designer. I scrolled down his page. I saw a video of him. It was not of him, but it was of Rihanna and Jason Lee fanning out at the Mariah Carey concert. And the dress she had on is something that he created. It was like this Swarovski crystal encrusted dress. She looked beautiful. I get out of that video. I keep scrolling on his page. I see a video of Sierra, Miss 1-2-step, the Sierra prayer. She looks gorgeous in a dress that he created for her. I get out of that video and I see that he made a dress for Chloe Bailey. Her and Halle were like on a red carpet. She looked so pretty. And I'm like, but this is some random designer, Erica. I hope that man block you. And he never makes anything for you. Because the dress that Erica had on must have been a throwaway dress because every other dress on his page ate down. I still think Erica looked beautiful, but every other dress on his page was heat after heat after heat. I think he also designs wedding dresses. Gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous outfits. And I'm just like, this man makes garments. And you fixed your mouth to say some random designer so like flippantly. Like I said, y'all, the designers need to leave Erica alone. Leave that lady alone. Just leave her alone, y'all. Y'all need to leave her alone to the point where she got to go down to the local community center and learn how to sew, because that's nasty. That's nasty. And I'm telling you, I used to love Erica. I used to love, like, when my stand card was laminated for Erica, okay? She was the reason why I kept tuning into Beverly Hills, because I love me a bitchy girl. I do. I really do. But these past 5 seasons, she has rubbed me in such a way where she's not enjoyable to watch anymore. Like, she is like, ugh. Like, that's just all like, ugh, Like, Erica is just a bleach blonde old hag. Meh. So, we then get this scene of, the women getting on stage. We have this awkward interaction between Garcelle and Kyle, where Kyle is walking on the stage, and Garcelle, oh my God, Kyle, you look so beautiful. I love your hair. Kyle blatantly ignores her, sits down, and it's like, hi, Bose, hi. And Garcelle is like, oh, she really pissed at me. Like, she's not even looking at me. And I think she was reiterating this to a PA. They then start the reunion. Andy asks Kyle about her stupid crystals. Let me not say stupid, because I got friends. Let me calm down. I got friends that use crystals. So let me not say they're stupid. That's mean. I don't want to offend nobody's spirituality, okay? My bad. So they ask her about her crystals. We then find out, about Garcelle becoming a, grandmother again. They then talk about Dorit being in British Vogue, and Andy ends up asking everybody what is the intentions for tonight. And Kyle said, I want to be able to leave here better than what I feel. Like, I want to be in a better place. She didn't say with everyone. She just said, I want to leave here feeling better. We then hear Garcelle, which was kind of eerie foreshadow, saying, I want to hope we can get a group picture finally, because I guess they haven't had a group picture in almost like 2 seasons. And Sutton is like, I'm so sorry. So they start off the packages. The first package is of Dorit. Talk about Dorit's package. So they talk about that whole smoking scene in the car where she got it in her mouth when she was trying to light the cigarette. I was like, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal for you to talk about it, because honestly, no one's cared about it, because no one has shown us what's it called? No one's made it into a meme. I've yet to see that be made into a meme. So I was like, I don't know why this was something we had to talk about. Sutton and Garcelle's faces during this segment had me tickled, because when Dorit said she was a social smoker, Sutton was like, what is that? And Garcelle said, okay, girl. Because Dorit definitely she smoke a pack of menthols a day. Okay, at least a half a pack. So Andy ends up asking her about her kids. Like, do you still stand by the fact that you didn't tell your kids about, like, what's going on right now? She was like, she does. She was like, the kids don't really ask questions. As long as they're happy, if mom and dad are happy, they don't really care what's going on. A viewer's question is posed at Sutton, where the person was like, Sutton, don't you think it's hypocritical that you were pushing Dorit to tell her kids, but you said on the after show that you and Christian waited like a year to tell your kids about the divorce? And Sutton says, because Dorit was like, so what was the consequences of that? And she was like, there really wasn't any consequences. She just was like, based off of the way that I raise my kids now, I tell them everything. Like, I'm very honest with them, and I feel like I should have been honest with them when they were younger, so they trust me implicitly and don't feel like maybe I'm like not letting them know what's going on. I honestly feel like Dorit should tell her kids. She should have told her children about it once Jagger found the story that was online. Like, tell them, like, to me, because Dorit, it lets it be known that the only time that PK sees his kids is on Saturdays and possibly Saturday nights when he's in town. Like, they're probably used to him only being there on Saturday, that like it's going to be jarring to them once he stops coming around, once the divorce actually takes effect. So if I was you, I would just tell my kids what's up so they can be prepared for whatever. I would want that heads up if I was a child. So Andy ends up asking her, how you feel about him? Like, do you still love this man? She gonna say, he's my heart, he's my soul, he's my blood. I said, okay, girl, he's my heart, he my soul, he my blood. All right, Dorit, calm down. So then we find out that PK was invited to the reunion, but he declined to come, but he sent a message. The way Dorit was looking, like what? Okay. So this is what it said. It says, I was invited to be a part of the reunion, but declined because I don't believe engaging with Dorit in this forum would be constructive. Dorit has made several mischaracterizations about me, but the one I must address is the claim that I am a bad father. This statement is both heartbreaking and false. It is deeply hurtful to me and, more importantly, to our children, who, despite Dorit's assertion, will inevitably see and hear all of this at a time not of our choosing. Those closest to us know the truth, and many have wanted to speak out, but I have asked them not to, because the truth should never need a champion. I refuse to stroke the fires I did not ignite. The Dorit I married would never and have allowed this, much so less caused it. The woman embodied kindness, integrity, and grace. I can only hope this version of Dorit finds her way back to the person she once was. PK. Now, do I think PK is full of it? Yes, just like I think his wife is full of it. PK and Dorit give me stunts and shows, and after this segment, I was like, this divorce is very questionable. Very questionable. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is fake. I don't know at this point. And at this point, I don't care. But that statement right there was clean. That's a clean statement. And that lets me know if this divorce is truly real, Dorit is in trouble, because Dorit is acting stupid, and I don't understand why, because I never thought Dorit was a stupid person, but she's giving ditzy Dora. And I'm like, girl, this man legit sent that. Girl, that means in the divorce, if you want something, I bet you he'll put a gag order on you. I bet you if you still on this show, he will gag order you until, he not playing with you, Dorit. He is not playing with you. So I'm gonna need you to wise up, because I can definitely see Dorit being on this show still, with her divorce and all of that stuff, and him basically saying, if you want alimony or a certain number of child support, you never utter my name. Never. And she gonna be stupid enough to do it because she ain't got no money. What is Dorit known for? We have yet to hear her talk about Beverly Beach in years. Okay? So she's kind of shocked by that. Andy ends up asking her, he says, you've changed. Do you think you've changed? She was like, I would hope so, in 14 years. And then Andy was like, well, you're known for the glam and all of this stuff. Do you think all of that was too much for him? And she was like, yeah, but he loved the fame. He loved when I would get dressed up. He loved when people would ask me questions and want to take pictures with me. So then Andy was like, do you think he was insecure? And she was like, well, I don't know if I would have called him that, but maybe I need to step away from the situation to see the picture, a whole picture, because right now I don't know if I want to call him insecure. So they move on from that, and a viewer's question is posed to Kyle, where the person basically says that they didn't like the fact that Kyle, well, no, it wasn't that question yet. They ended up asking Kyle, how do you think Dorit has changed? And she basically said Dorit was a lot more aggressive, a lot more confrontational. She was a little different. She wasn't a Dorit that I know, and maybe it was situationally, but she definitely was more aggressive. And so the next question that's posed to Kyle is Kyle, I didn't like the person was like, I did not like the way that you pretty much dismissed Dorit's claims of how PK can be a monster. And Kyle was just like, well, the only reason why I did that was because I felt like she was exaggerating about him. And so Dorit basically said that was one of the most hurtful things, Kyle, because you know me longer than him and you wouldn't know him without me. You know what I'm saying? And she said, well, I only said that because I felt like he didn't have anyone to defend him. You were saying all these things about him and he didn't have a chance to defend himself. And when you called him an alcoholic, you're calling him a bad dad, and he's not able to fight back. So then Dorit says, well, he publicly said he was an alcoholic, girl. And so then Sutton jumps in and she was like, I will say it did seem like you were throwing him under the bus. It was over and over and over, accusation. You kept repeating it over and over that he's an alcoholic. He's an alcoholic. And then Dorit basically says, well, it's not like I plan to do that. this, y'all seeing me repeat myself over and over was me talking throughout a span of a week. I didn't say it like every single day. You know what I'm saying? So then Kyle ends up saying, but I felt like you were exaggerating because you exaggerated about me. And then Dorit was like, girl, what did I exaggerate about you? Like, and what did I exaggerate about you, sis? And Kyle said we could move on from that because, like, my segment, we could talk about that pretty much when it comes to my segment. And so Dorit was like, no, we could talk about this now since it's at the top of your brain. I said, ooh, okay. Okay. And I was Erica when Eric said, ooh. I said, okay. And so they, like, Kyle deflects and then starts talking about the texting situation. But what's interesting is on the Peacock version, there is a scene in this scene where Kyle basically says she felt like Dorit was coming at her for camera time. And Dorit pretty much confirmed that, Kyle, you have a really strong relationship with the execs for this show, that you knew if I was coming back or not. So you knew, you would know I was coming back before I would know. So why would you think I would be doing all of this for camera time? And I said, not her throwing her under the bus. And all Kyle couldn't really even say anything. Her eyes just got big like this. And I was like, ooh, girl. So she outing you for real, for real? I said, I would be surprised if this friendship gets back to where it used to be. I don't think it ever will, but they have an alliance. So they're still always going to protect each other to a certain extent. But I was surprised that Dorit said, girl, we all know that you friends with the execs. And they protect you, and you knew I was coming back before I did. So don't play them games saying that I was putting on just to keep my job. Don't do that. So like I said, she brings up the text messages, and they show a flashback where Erica tells Kyle nobody has reached out to Dorit, and she was like, I don't like that. I'm going to reach out to her. So Kyle's like, you never even acknowledged that I reached out to you. And Dorit was like, yeah, you reached out to PK first, then me. Kyle tries to throw Sutton and Garcelle under the bus by being like, well, they didn't reach out to you. And Sutton and Garcelle was like, why would we, girl? We not her friends. You are. Like, what are you talking about? So Kyle was kind of taken aback that, like, that didn't work, because then Dorit was like, Kyle, are you not understanding that the issue is that you reached out to my husband before you reached out to me, and you knew me before my husband? Like, you wouldn't know my husband without me. Like, where they do that at? And I'm with Dorit. Like, yeah, girl, why are you reaching out to my husband and not me? Like, what? So then Andy said, let's table this here because we got more to talk about. He then starts talking to Dorit about, like, his sobriety, about PK's sobriety. And she was like, I'm not really at liberty to talk about that. So now everyone is assuming that he fell off that wagon. Erica was like, is he not sober anymore? And then Boza's like, that's what it sounded like to me. And then Andy was like, are you saying that he is not sober? And she was like, no, I'm just saying that, like, I tried to talk about it with him before, and he told me that that's none of my business, and I'm not privy to, like, I'm not going to give you that information. Like, you're not privy to it. And so she was like, that kind of made us take a step back, because I'm like, why when you do that? Like, why would you not tell me what's going on with you? Like, why would you not tell me that? So the next question is posed to Sutton, where Andy ends up asking her, like, are you worried or concerned for Dorit? And she was like, I am. Dorit laughs at it, like she scoffs at it. She's like, oh, okay. And so Sutton is telling her, like, girl, I am worried for you. And Dorit's like, how can you be worried about somebody you don't like you don't lead with compassion, you don't support other women? And Sutton was like, I do support women. And I'm just kind of like, well, Sutton being worried or concerned for you, I don't think is weird. There's definitely been people that I don't like that I've worried about, but I feel like Sutton's worry is the fact that you got 2 kids and you don't know what's going on, and she also understands that you're probably going to be the main one taking care of those kids on your own, so you should know what's up, what debt is in your name, what's going on. Because Sutton ends up saying, like, I found out I had 2 baseball teams. I didn't know nothing about that until I got that forensic accountant. And Andy was like, well, having 2 baseball teams is a wonderful surprise. And she's like, yeah, it is, but, like, there was a lot of things I didn't know, so you should know those things. Dorit keeps trying to overtalk Sutton, and Sutton basically said, all I'm saying is it's important to have this type of communication with your partner so that you know what's going on. So then Andy ends up asking her about the house being under foreclosure. She says it's not under foreclosure, it's under pre-foreclosure. I said, what the hell is that? So let's Google what pre-foreclosure is. Okay, it says pre-foreclosure refers to a period before a property is officially foreclosed when a homeowner is behind on their mortgage payments and the lender has initiated legal action, but the foreclosure sale hasn't occurred. During this time, homeowners can explore options to avoid foreclosure, such as the property or working with the lender. Oh, such as selling the property or working with the lender. So either way, girl, y'all were behind on your mortgage payments. She basically ends up telling this story about how the rate on the house went up. PK didn't like the rate, so he stopped paying and he called the people. And I said, girl, he called the people and he paid them. Because even if he wanted to negotiate the rate, you still got to pay back mortgage payments. I said, girl, you sound dumb. And when Sutton was like, is your name on the mortgage? And Doree was like, I'm not going to tell you that. That means it's not because you don't know. You don't know. When I tell you, I never thought Dorit was dumb, but she is giving a ditzy. She giving ditzy as hell. Cause I'm like, girl, how do you not know these things, Dorit? How do you not know? So then I think someone, and you even hear Bose say, girl, that's how you lose a house. So then Andy ends up asking, no, I think Erica ends up asking, like, are you scared? And she was like, no, I'm not scared. She was like, I'm hurt and I'm sad. But she was like, I'm starting to come to the realization that the future that I thought I was going to have, I'm not going to have. And that's really, really hard for me. Segment was about Bose, and we found out that Bose did watch the show because Andy's like, you strike me as someone who does their research. And she's like, yeah, I did watch the show, but I guess she was like, I didn't understand the intricacies of the group. Like, I thought it was like not real. I guess she was saying she thought people were playing up their emotions for the TV show, but she's realizing being a part of the show, they're like, no, bro, these feelings and these emotions are very much real, and the girls be feeling this type of way. She then talks about her house burning down and how that's been very traumatic for her because that was like her gift, I guess, to herself for working so hard for 20 years. And she was like, no one's ever given me anything. So that was hard to lose. And she's kind of like wondering if she's going to rebuild. She then talks about Keely and how the reception from the fans has been like either people like him or they don't. She was kind of taken aback that the ladies also had like mixed reviews about him. Erica ends up saying, well, yeah, I did say it was kind of like a red flag, girl. You talking about having a baby, but he hasn't told you I love you or anything like that. And then they get on Sutton, and we find out that Sutton and her had a conversation. They show the flashback of when they talked before the surrealist party, and Sutton was just kind of like, well, I do kind of want to put my hand up, like that's a flag that he's never been married and he's almost 50. So Andy interjects and he was like, well, I'm almost 50. I'm 50 and I ain't never been married. And what's her name? Someone was like, well, do you want to get married? And he was like, no, because I have commitment issues. It was funny. But I do get where Sutton is saying, like, I don't expect people to be married nowadays, because a lot of people aren't really getting married. But I would ask, like, what is your longest standing relationship? Has it been a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like 5 years? Like, what was it for you? Because if you are that old and you've never experienced that, it is kind of like, what's up with that? But she lets it be known that they have said, I love you. So I'm going to stop right here. One, I wish Bose would have never told the people, yeah, I watched this show. Because the way everybody was online, like, she watched the show. I feel like a lot of people were trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. So I think it threw them off when she admitted that, like, yeah, I watched the show. And I can understand why people are like, you watched the show and you still decided to be friends with Dorit and Erica. Erica, who cussed out a 14-year-old, and your child and Garcelle's twins are basically the same age. That Erica, as well as you are friends with Dorit, who we've seen her interactions with Garcelle, we've seen her interactions with Crystal. You've seen the group gang up on Sutton and Garcelle. That means you saw them throw her book in the trash. I think that was season 12, maybe season 12 or 11, and you still want to be friends with them like that? I've said I've never had an issue with Bose being friends with Dorit because I don't care. My only issue was Bose trying to act like her opinion was so holistic when it was very much one-sided. And now it feels like, girl, it was one-sided and you already had preconceived notions and you let those rule your opinion. You really didn't take the opportunity to really get to know the women. And I feel like it shows in how you linked up with Dorit and Erica. Now, I know some people are going to get down in the comments and be like, but Garcelle is friends with Sutton and she has microaggressions. Okay, let's be honest, y'all. Everybody on this cast are Karens. Everybody except Bose and Garcelle. Let's call a thing a thing. Like any housewife show you watch and the cast is predominantly white, they are Karens. They're a part of the 1%. A lot of the girls in OC in New Jersey, probably here in Beverly Hills and possibly New York, because you never know. People be fronting. People be fronting. And even the girls down in Miami, because the Cubans voted for them, are probably Republicans and voted for that man. So I'm like, you can't really use that as an argument for me. It's just kind of like, if you choose to be on this show, that's something that you are signing up for, because you know in real life none of these women are clicked up with black people. Like they're not really hanging up out with black people like that, like that. So it is what it is. But I feel like a lot of people, well, let me move on because I know I'm going to start rambling. But let me just say this. When it comes to the house situation with Bose and Garcelle and Erica, I didn't expect Bose to defend Garcelle because they weren't really doing that throughout the show. But I will say I understand why people are angry with Bose and were upset about her position in that argument or in that situation. Because at the end of the day, you came on this show saying, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. You're in Vogue magazine saying my contribution to this show is that I am black. And you're gifting Dorit Black Girl Magic Wine at her 4th of July party. You're giving the girls Teflon bags as vacation, like keepsakes. You're taking the women to St. Lucia, a black country, and yet when you had the opportunity to interject and possibly be like, Erica, let's not do that. I lost my home, so I don't want to talk about anybody's home. You didn't do it. And I feel like a lot of black women and black fans, and even minority fans, feel like you sold them a dream and you set the expectations of how you would behave, and you did not meet those expectations, and they feel like you lied to them. I think that's why you are getting so much venom and vitriol. Do I agree with it when it comes to Bose? Not necessarily. I do feel like you can critique somebody's behavior without being nasty about it. Like you don't have to go to the isms. You don't have to be racist. You don't have to be transphobic. You don't have to be xenophobic. You don't have to be colorist or featurist or plain old anti-black. But I do feel like there is a way that you can critique her behavior, just like you could critique Garcelle's behavior. Because I've seen the same thing being done to her without resorting to that, you know? And then Keely, I don't understand how she doesn't understand how people didn't think that was a weird storyline. You're 48 years old. You've only known the man for 8 years. You were acting scary as hell to ask him real questions like, are you going to move here from San Francisco? Are we going to live together? Do you see yourself marrying me? And when you did have those questions being posed to Keely, he kind of sidestepped them and went around them. And yet, and still, you're still with this man, and it's given desperate because you're marrying somebody that's not of the same caliber as you. You're actually marrying someone who is lower than you. The man has art and what he feels like he can get out of you. So it is kind of like, girl, this really who you clicking up with? This is who you want to have babies with? So then they talk about her wanting to have children and how she was kind of taken aback by people giving their opinion. And I'm like, well, if you did your research, then you know how the fans of Real Housewives gets down. If they feel like something don't make sense, or if they feel very emboldened in their opinion, they gonna tell you their opinion. Low key, they might at you. Okay. And she ends up saying like she just can't believe that, like, you know, people had such negative things to say about her getting pregnant. Like, how dare you poo-poo on my dreams? Because she was like, she's been terrified to say that she wants a child for the past 16 years after her daughter. And I was like, that's understandable, ma'am. But in the context of where you delivered this story, you don't make sense. It sounds stupid. Like, you're 48 years old. You said one of the stipulations about what you wanting to get pregnant is being married. The man hasn't married you. He has yet to say, I love you. Y'all have only been married for not married, but been together for 8 years. On top of that, you tell us this story of how you almost died, and unfortunately your child died, and you thought everybody was supposed to rock with this narrative, this story. Like, you supposed to be a marketing genius, and this is what you giving us? Like, girl, you sound stupid. I'm sorry. And that's why people were like, you not making sense with Bose. And they talk about Dorit and Bose's relationship. We find out that Bose and Garcelle met up before filming, because Bose was like, girl, give me the tea on everybody. And she didn't do that. And I'm glad Garcelle didn't do that, because I'm going to be honest, Bose gives snake energy. Still like the lady. Hope she come back for a second season, because I would like to see how the dynamic shift with the group. But I wouldn't give that lady no type of tea, because I definitely feel like if Bose, if Garcelle would have told Bose what she felt about everybody on that show, Bose would have used it on this reunion and threw it in her face. So I'm happy she didn't say anything. I'm happy she told her, come to your own conclusion about these women once you are in their presence and once you experience them, because Bose gives corporate black. She do. And them people not to be trusted. They're not. I've dealt with a few. They're not. I definitely would not give Bose any type of information. Like if I worked with Bose, girl, I wouldn't tell that lady nothing. It would be very surface with that lady, because I know for a fact she would have threw that in Garcelle's face if Garcelle would have told her about the women. Because a lot of people were like, no, Garcelle should have said something. For what? Because y'all already don't like her. And if Garcelle would have said something, y'all have been like, see, Garcelle was trying to taint Bose's opinion of the ladies. So now, because she didn't say anything, that's a problem. No, she did the right thing. Come to your own conclusions about these women, and, you follow suit. So Bose said at the Sutton Surrealist party, she was following Garcelle's directive, and she was just like, I was open, and I was open to Dorit. She was like, I felt like Dorit was the most open. In the uncensored version, there's an argument that happens between Kyle and Bose, where Kyle is like, girl, I was very open with you. I don't understand why you said I was so cold. And she basically says that, we met up at Oceanside. I came to your room, and I came and checked on you after your fibroids. And Bose's response to that was like, girl, I was on medication. I don't remember that. On top of that, she was like, I guess the conversation wasn't interesting. And Kyle had no rebuttal for Bose. She just was like, oh. And I said, ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. I said, okay. So it definitely feels like Bose and Kyle, that's not going to be something. But I wonder how Kyle's going to play it now that Garcelle is gone. Because that's the thing that I don't think Bose is realizing. Garcelle is gone. So they don't want to be perceived as like, okay, they shoved out the other black lady for this black girl, we're replacing her. So they're going to get sneaky and more underhanded with how they treat you or how they play you. And now that Dorit has let it be known that, girl, you having a relationship with the executives, girl, I could definitely see Kyle pulling moves. So I don't know. I wonder if Bose is going to outsnake them. I'm wondering. So they continue on about like how Kyle says Dorit is up Bose's ass and it's actually gross. And Garcelle said, Dorit is like an embryo in Garcelle's coochie. And what's interesting is Bose never addressed Kyle's comment, but she addressed addressed Garcelle's comment. Kyle also said that Dorit was up your ass and it was actually gross. But it seems like the energy was only for Sutton and Garcelle. That's telling, okay? So they basically talk about in the after show where Bose was like, she felt like people were jealous, i.e., Sutton and Garcelle, of the relationship. And Garcelle says the only reason why I brought up Ocean, like, them talking at the table is because they were talking at the table for so long at Oceanside. They were talking for an hour, and it was like, oh, we're not going to be a part of that conversation. Now, honestly, I wouldn't have cared, but I would have made a mental note where I'd been like, that's weird that they're just having this intimate conversation while the rest of us are just sitting there. Like, it did feel like Garcelle was pressed to be a part of the conversation and to be let in on what was happening. But I would have paid it dust because, one, I don't like Dorit. And two, I mean, like, you don't really know Bose, so let them talk. And Garcelle was like, I didn't bring it up, but like that one time, you know? And Garcelle was like, I didn't have a problem with them being friends. Like, that was not the case. And she was like, but people have a problem with me and Sutton being friends. And then they flash back to that lip licking lady, Diana. And Erica saying that Sutton is a walking liability. And she's glad that Garcelle has Charisse. And I said, first of all, girl, you're a walking liability. You got lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits. So the nerve of you to fix your mouth to say that is crazy. The audacity. For real. Okay. So So Garcelle was like, I just didn't bring it up like that. And they were like, yeah, you did. You brought it up many times. And I feel like she only brought it up when they were in Oceanside. And then when they got to the 4th of July, when she called Bo's, what's her name? Dorit's mouthpiece. But other than that, there was a span of several episodes between that. And we didn't even see them have conversations about their relationship after that. So we have a funny moment where Garcelle and Sutton are attached to each other, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you guys are attached to each other figuratively and literally. And it was a cute laugh. And then Garcelle was like, no, I'm glad that Dorit has a friend. I'm glad that her and Dorit became friends. So then the only thing that Bo said rubbed her the wrong way is people insinuating that she was being manipulated. And what's her name? Kyle was like, I never felt like she was being manipulated. I never felt that way. Trying to be like, no, I wasn't like that. But you did say you felt like Bose had a one-sided opinion of you because she got close to Dorit. That is making the insinuation that you thought that there could have been some tactics of manipulation. So then she's like, and for you to say that I was manipulated is ridiculous. And I think that that says more about you than me. It's actually quite insulting to think that someone can influence my opinion of you. And if that's the case, then what does that say about you? And you could tell that Garcelle after that was kind of over it, because the way she kept biting her lip, I was like, oh, you done. You done. And you kind of see the play, because you can't tell me that there was not a conference call and Bose, Erica, Dorit, and Kyle were on it, because I still don't understand why everyone had this much smoke for Garcelle. The only time that I was like, yeah, Garcelle, you deserve to be in the hot seat with this reunion is when it came to Dorit, because Garcelle should have never brought up the robbery again. But everything else, it just felt like there was a lot of fever for her, and I was just like, shouldn't this be Sutton and Kyle's reunion to get it? Like, why? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? What's transpiring? Because I do think it's kind of odd that she didn't like the energy when Bose was talking about, like, it's kind of like that says a lot about you and it's insulting if you think one person can manipulate my opinion of you, was like directed towards Garcelle. And I'm like, but Kyle also said Dorit was up your butt and it was actually gross. And it didn't even feel like she gave her that fever. And I was just like, So they get off of that segment. The next segment is about Garcelle. And you could tell by this time she was kind of over it, or maybe in deep contemplation. But you could definitely tell that she was uncomfortable and irritated, because she kept biting her lip. And even when they got to her segment, she didn't smile or anything. She just sat there just like you could tell she was upset. So they run her segment, and the first thing that's asked is, Erica, you said that you wanted Garcelle and Sutton to show more of their lives. And Sutton and Garcelle are like, what more can we show? Like Garcelle is like, girl, I've showed y'all everything. I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. They were like, who are you dating, girl? And she's like, I'm not really dating like that. I've been like on 2 dates. Bose is like, are you getting any? And she was like, well, no, not really. And she was like, oh, we got to do something about that, sis. And she was like, well, yeah, but like I'm showcasing my life. And so Erica's like, we want the juicy scoop. And she's like, I don't know what else. Like, do you know something? Like, I don't know what else. So, like, even Sutton kind of had this face like, girl, what do you want from us? And then Erica's like, well, I guess I just wish you were more interesting. And you hear Bo say, oh, damn. And then you hear Sutton say, what? And then Andy was like, and so Garcelle was like, that's a shitty thing to say, Erica. And Erica's like, no. And she's like, no, it is, because I thought we were cool. I thought we were friends. Like, I thought we were working on a better relationship. And Erica's like, no, we are. And she's like, no, we're not, when you say something like that. And so next thing you know, Erica is like, well, I guess it's because of like my divorce, Kyle and Dorit's divorce. We've come at the seams. We've come broken apart. We've bared it all. No, you have not. None of y'all have. That's the part that is irritating. Erica, you've had the same storyline for 3 seasons. I'm a wife in ruin. I don't care about the victims. I care about me. That's been you the whole entire 3 seasons. Your storyline this season was you putting wallpaper up in your house. and your mama coming to visit. We didn't see you in the studio. We didn't see you preparing for any like your auditions to be back on Broadway. We didn't see you even start a new business venture. You didn't even talk about your hair extensions. You didn't do anything, Erica, other than have another person redecorate your home and talk about, like a phoenix, I'm rising from the ashes. You guys, I'm finally getting back to me. That's been you for 3 seasons. 3 seasons, a wife in ruin. Kyle, for the past 2 seasons, honestly, 3 seasons, she's been moving funny, not trying to communicate to us what's going on with her relationship with Mauricio. You bring on Morgan, and we're trying to figure out what's going on with you. And that now we got Dorit. Dorit was lying last episode, well, not episode, last season, talking about we're better than ever. We're great. What? Girl, we just found out that PK is an alcoholic. And you talking about we bared it all. They had to, it was like pulling teeth, Erica, to get you to be honest about your situation with that man. Honestly, the only reason why people understood what was going down or what has transpired between the two of y'all or what was going on in that case is because they read court documents. And for you to fix your mouth to be like, I wish you were more interesting, is crazy. What you want is Garcelle to be in distress and disheveled like y'all. But it's never going to look the same because Black women being in distress and disheveled is never going to be the same. Just like Latin women, Asian women, and all the other other ethnicities. It's never, us being in ruin is not the same as white women being in distress. It's never the same because that's not how we were raised or taught. So even if she was in distress, even if she was in ruin, y'all wouldn't have known it because she wouldn't be that open to y'all because she don't trust y'all. Like because what it boils down to is they want to see that lady disheveled. They want her to be in a scandal. They want her to wake up every day worrying about the fact that like she don't know what's going to happen in her life. And that's never going to be Garcelle because that's not how she was raised. That's how y'all was raised. Y'all was raised to be that way. She was not. Are you serious? Chimes in and she's like, my issue I had was, with you, Garcelle, you're saying that I'm not showing my life, but I am showing my life. I've been showing my life for the past 14 years, my family, my relationship, like me falling out with my family, my problems in my marriage. And I'm like, what more do you want from me? The same way you're like, what more do you want from Erica? I'm trying to understand, like, what more do you want from me? I've literally put everything on the cameras. And I'm like, girl, that's a lie. That's a lie. Because if we're boiling down to it, Kyle would not be here if it wasn't for her sisters. Kyle should have been gone a long time ago. But she brought Kathy on this show, or Kathy decided to be on this show after the Paris Hilton documentary dropped, and everybody saw that lady as the mean old lady she is, okay? She not to be trusted, okay? But really, you're only on this show because of your alliance with Fox Force 5, and your sisters. If Kim Richards would get her mental together and really conquer her demons with addiction, you would not really be on this show. They would be trying to usher you out, sis, because you only stayed on this show because of that lady. Okay, because of the queen of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is the Kim Richards. Okay, like let's not play them games, girl. Let's not do it. And like I said, you only here because of Kathy. Because if you're not here, we don't get Kathy. And a lot of people, for some reason, go up for Miss Kathy Hilton. But let's not do that, girl. You have not shown your life. Your life has been to exploit your sister's addiction. We hardly even know the issues in your marriage with Mauricio. You won't even be honest about that. So then Garcelle is like, well, last year you brought Morgan and she was a part of the show and they showed the montage of her and Morgan together and we see things in the press. Are we not supposed to bring it up? Like, we're not supposed to bring it up. And she was like, girl. So then Kyle ends up saying, well, I respected the fact that your son wasn't on this show, like, because of what happened last season. And Morgan doesn't want to be on this show because she got anxiety. And I'm trying to respect that. When I tell you Garcelle should have cleared her, I don't know why Garcelle wasn't doing that. Like I said, I feel like she was uncomfortable and in deep contemplation because I tell you, I'd have been like, bitch, don't ever fix your mouth to compare my 16-year-old child to a 30-year-old woman. A 30-year-old woman who had the ability and was willing to be on this show with you as y'all gallivanted around town together, as y'all keep being shown in the paparazzi, girl. My child was accosted by you, your husband, and that one over there, those two over there, the one who cussed out my child and the one who was laughing about it. So don't ever fix your mouth to speak about my child. Okay? Don't ever. And when I tell you she had every right to spaz on them, I would have been like, don't ever. Because what if it would have happened to Portia? Huh? What would have happened to little Portia? Yeah, shut up. Shut up. Like that, we would have been our like when I tell you, we would have got nasty on that stage, and I don't know why Garcelle didn't get in her bag because I would have got nasty on that stage. So then, um, Garcelle is like, well, girl, she was on the show, so she was just like, I'm trying to respect that. So, Garcelle basically said, I feel like it would be hypocritical for us to like not talk about it when it's in the press. I was like, ooh, Sutton, girl, you a disappointment. You are a disappointment. They're sitting on the couch, and Garcelle is just like, Kyle, why did you come and talk to us off camera? Because she exposes that. Kyle's like, I came to talk to you because we were friends. And she was like, I don't know about that. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that either. And she was like, Sutton, what did you say? And Sutton was like, well, I think Kyle wants to protect Morgan, all scared, like. And she was like, no, that's not what you said. You said that that was a chess move. So now Kyle's like, oh my gosh, for real? For real? Like, oh my gosh, when you two get together, you're mean girls. I said, you have your motherfucking nerve, Kyle, because the way that you have shown up for seasons, that you always need to click for you to go at somebody. You always needed your sister to go at somebody with you. Y'all came at Brandy together. Y'all did it. Y'all came at, y'all, like, are you serious, lady? You clicked, like, I can't. I was so outdone after Kyle said that. I said, girl, when is this episode over? When is this over? So then you have Sutton being like, hang on now. And so Kyle's like, Sutton, I'm so like, I can't believe you would say that, Sutton. I can't believe it. So then the conversation continues and they start arguing back and forth about Morgan. Then they get on the conversation about, Kyle being like, and Garcelle, you were the one that's supposed to be like, you were mad at her for not having your back, for her not coming at me like you were trying to come at me. I'm so hurt by you. And so Garcelle is like, no, I wanted Sutton to have my back because that's what we do as friends. So then Erica was like, can you not stand on your own, Garcelle? She was like, no, I can. But like as friends, that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, Erica, shut up, because y'all do that. When y'all don't like somebody or when you see somebody in an adversarial role against your friend, you jump in. That's what y'all did when y'all were on that boat. That's what y'all done at the table when y'all go against Sutton. So hush up, hush. So then they go back and forth, and she was like, I just don't know what to trust. It's like, can you really trust anybody? That's what Kyle ends up saying. And I was like, Kyle, ugh, shut up, shut up. So then that's when Dorit ends up saying, that's why I gravitated towards Bose, you just never know. Like, she was just so real. And the way that Bose smiled, I was grossed out. I'm not even gonna lie. It was giving very much like, she's the good black one. That's why I gravitated to her. That's what it gave. That is what it gave. And I don't care what nobody said, because the way she smiled and the way that Dorit said it, I was like, okay. Apologizing to Kyle because Kyle keeps saying, I was so hurt by you. I was so hurt. And she says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt. And then they move on from that stage before they break is Dorit and Garcelle getting into it. What it boils down to is Garcelle should have never brought up the robbery again, even if she feels like it was a setup. Dorit saying only 4 people on Twitter. Like, do you have proof, girl? It's not just 4 people on Twitter. And I'm including one of them because the story is shaky. They didn't take your wedding ring. They took your phone and you asked them to leave it by the gate, and they did with the flash on. There's no fingerprints anywhere. And you just that night turn off the alarm because the kids like to run around. And what world does your alarm not being able to be on while you're in the house? Like, that doesn't make sense. So it definitely gives a sketchy ass story. Then the season after that, you getting robbed while going Christmas shopping. Like, yeah, Dorit, it is giving insurance scams and frauds. And you've been saying that your husband is a monster. You were like, not only would you think my husband is a psycho, but he is crazy to do something like that with his kids. Girl, you said that man's a monster. You don't even know what's going on in your house, so you don't know if he set you up. You don't know that. You don't. You don't know. I feel like Garcelle shouldn't have brought it up because like, we are beyond that with people feeling that way. But it's just like, yeah, girl, like, let's not. So Garcelle just basically says, that's just how I feel. That's my feelings. Like, I don't know how you want me to want me to respond to that. That's my feelings. I'm sorry you feel that way. But I never said that PK set you up. And Dorit's like, no, you intimated. You intimated. She was like, no, I did not. She was like, run the B reel. And they showed, and she didn't. She just says, I don't think Dorit knew about it, but there's definitely something that's shaky about it. Y'all are the ones that are implicating yourselves that she's specifically talking about PK. So it's kind of giving y'all are protesting too much, because why would PK automatically think that she's talking about him, and why would you automatically think she's talking about your husband? Like, you have nannies, y'all supposed to have money. It could have been a nanny, it could have been a friend, it could have been a housekeeper, but like, it's giving insurance scam over there, okay? It really is. That's what it's given. So then, not Bose. Well, no, Bose does interject where she basically says that's kind of messed up for you to insinuate that. That's actually quite terrible. Like, that you said that knowing like the repercussions of what you're saying. So then Garcelle's like, girl, I don't know what else I can tell you other than like, that's my opinion. That's how I felt about it. And I'm sorry that you felt that way. And so they pretty much in there. You got Sutton being like, I feel like everybody hates me. And Kyle being like, girl, they didn't even come at you. Like, calm down. I say, yeah, son, shut up. Calm down. Calm down, girl. You are so self-centered. It just looks like Sutton. I don't know if you're feeling sad that you're not standing up for your friend and that's what you're feeling, but girl, what are we doing? So then you hear Garcella, she's walking out with her glam squad being like, I didn't know I was going to be on the hot seat. I thought it was going to be Sutton. It's like, I can't have an opinion. I can't say anything. Honestly, everybody can go F themselves. I really don't care. So then she sits down in her room. You see Sutton go after her and knock on the door. And she's like, how are we feeling? Girl, if this was any of the girls off of Real Housewives of Atlanta or Real Housewives of Potomac, Sutton wouldn't have not even been able to get through the door without being cussed out. Like, them girls would have read something for filth to the point where she would have walked back to her dressing room crying, like in full on tears. Tears. And you could tell that Garcelle was irritated with Sutton, but she wasn't really saying anything. And then we see this scene with Bose, where Bose and Dorita talking, where she was like, this Garcelle thing. She was like, yeah. She was like, now you see. And she was like, to say that so casually without any repercussions, it's just crazy. And Dorita's like, I know. And I was like, oh, so I guess this is where Bose allegedly says, if I was you, I would sue her for defamation or something like that. Or maybe she's going to say it on stage. But I was like, okay, girl. So then it ends with Garcelle just being like, I can't really do anything here. She's like, she was like, Erica saying I need to be more interesting. F Erica, F you. She's like, what? Because I'm not going through a divorce. I'm not having, criminal activity. I don't have a rich husband. And then Sutton was like, she really don't have a rich husband. But either way, I was like, why didn't you say all of that on stage? Why did you not say all of that on stage, girl? You should have said all of that on stage to that lady, especially if this was going to be your last season, girl. I would have flamed Erica up, because Erica, Dorit, even Bose and Kyle are easy reads. Easy reads. Because I would have, when I tell you, I would have cleaned everybody up on that stage and would have made everybody feel about this big. But I don't know. I guess Garcelle ain't that type of person. I'm just like, girl, mess. But that's the end of the episode. So that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up and a like. And I'm out, y'all.